Welcome to the Professional Development Series at Western Michigan University for inquiry-based learning in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, also known as STEM. There's a tremendous need for individuals with a knowledge base in the STEM fields. In fact, since the 1990s, STEM occupations have grown 79%. This growth is expected to continue for some time and is outpacing the available workforce. In fact, jobs are going unfilled. Unfortunately, many students who are academically prepared to engage in STEM coursework and learning and are interested in STEM careers do not persist. Research has informed us that for some, they lose interest in the subject matter. Others, when engaged in STEM classes, fail to find relevance to their daily lives. And for others, passive learning and unengaged teaching have been a deterrent. So what can we do? Let us hear from Dr. Wendy Bean from the Department of Biological Sciences.
When I became an instructor, I was really looking for ways to reach those students that might be being turned off by how we're presenting the material, because science can be very dry. Memorize this stuff, learn a bunch of just facts, and the part that really excites me about it is the research and basically the inquiry, right? So why don't we start there with the students and show them our love of inquiry and the passion for it.
As Dr. Bean indicates, students are eager to not only fully comprehend the subject matter, but also apply what they have learned to real-world scenarios. They want to engage in dialogue and reflection. They want to experiment and create new ideas. Indeed, as the philosopher Plutarch indicates, students want to be excited to learn. So how do we change our teaching strategies to engage our students more and excite them to learn? Inquiry teaching and learning is a methodology that has been around for quite some time and is a technique to engage students in their own learning. Unlike the traditional lecture format where an instructor provides the information to the student, inquiry encourages the students to ask questions, research and propose solutions, and reflect and refine answers that help them gain new knowledge. It provides a platform for more active rather than passive learning. Often, instructors also use frameworks such as Bloom's taxonomy to facilitate inquiry-based learning and help the students cognitively engage in higher-order thinking. Bloom, a psychologist, first introduced his taxonomy in 1956. A goal of using this framework as a guide, along with inquiry-based learning strategies, is to engage our students in a higher order of thinking, to go beyond the remembering and recalling of information, and escalate their thinking through the various cognitive levels of complexity that lead to encouraging students to create new ideas and new knowledge. Techniques used to engage students in inquiry and this higher order level of thinking can include activities such as Think, Pair, Share, where ideas and knowledge are shared with peers. Talk and Turn, where a question is posed to the group and the students turn to discuss the answer with their neighbor. Answers can then be shared verbally or through the use of a polling device. And Fishbowl, where a small group of students engage in a discussion while a larger group observes and then comments on the activity. Beyond activities such as Think, Pair, Share, and Fishbowl, we can also use new technologies such as virtual reality or Learning Glass to engage students in their learning and problem solving. Let's watch an example of the use of one of these new technologies.
Oh, hey there! Since you're here, I'm Maria from the math department, and let's talk about functions. So a function is a relation that assigns to each element of the domain exactly one element of the range. So let's write that out in different words slightly here. So it's a rule that assigns each input, we'll say to each input, exactly one output. So now we want to determine how can we figure out if a given relation represents a function based on a table. So I've drawn out a couple tables here, and let's go ahead and assume that these tables account for all input and output values for these functions. So what's here? That's it. All right, so in our first table here, we've got, let's see, each input is occurring exactly once, and they're assigned exactly one output. So this one is definitely a function. And let's look at the second table. Okay, so we have each input occurring once, and you might be a little concerned here because we've got the output of 3, right, appearing twice. But if we look at our rule, actually that's fine because we said that our only requirement is that every input gets exactly one output. So the input of 0 has exactly one output 3, and the input of 1 has exactly one output 3. So this one's also going to be a function. It passes the test. All right, and then this last table here, we've got, let's see, so inputs are -8, 3, 1, -4, and then 3 again, right? So now we have something that we have to be concerned about. So we have the input 3 that's occurring twice, and now it's being assigned 2 outputs, 10 and 1. So that does violate our rule of a function. So this one does not pass the test. And that's it.
Dr. Spitzbergen, Professor of Biological Sciences, will talk to us about how to get started in implementing some of these new teaching strategies.
Don't reinvent the wheel. A lot of people have been doing this now, and they have activities that you could sort of are canned. You could take this activity and stick it in your class. You don't have to do so much development. Don't try and do everything at once. Add an activity one semester. Work on it. Get it, change it a little bit so you feel comfortable with it. Add a second activity. I think the times that people really get frustrated is they'll try and do the whole class, and there'll be some resistance on the part of students, and it's a lot of work to do the entire class, and so there's a lot of negatives associated. If you do one or two things and you start to get them to where they're working, and you can see some improvement, and you see the enthusiasm on the part of the students, then it's really easy to just keep building and adding another element, and you add another element, and pretty soon almost everything you're doing is in an active environment where the students are doing all the work, and you're guiding them more than standing and lecturing and teaching. You're guiding them to help them improve their skills, help them find information, help them hone their stories. And so I think my two big recommendations would be use things that have already been developed and then put your sort of twist on it, and start small and just build.
Once you begin implementing some of these strategies, what are some of the outcomes you might expect? Let's hear from Dr. Bean on her experience.
Fortunately, from the grant that's been going through, there's been some assessment. So we have some actual data, which as a scientist makes me happy, on the fact that we don't have enough data yet on learning outcomes. Are they actually learning the material better yet? That's still in progress. But they are significantly increased after implementing these methods in their confidence to do things. So their confidence, how they we perceive their ability to be able to form hypothesis design experiments and explain their research knowledge has increased significantly. And I think there's a direct correlation between a student's confidence in something and their willingness to engage with it and continue on. So if you think you're really bad at something, you may or may not be able to go on with it. So.
We hope we have piqued your interest in learning more about inquiry-based teaching and learning and the impact it can have on the learning of your students. For more information about this topic and other teaching tools, please visit the WMU Office of Faculty Development website at wmich.edu/faculty development.